Program opens the phone lines for you to call in live and share your questions or comments. On this program, we discuss the latest news and opinions of things that may affect the lives of those here in Daytona Beach and the nation. So join Dr. Durham for today's program.
The following show is a sponsor of Joy 106.3. Joy 106.3 is parent company Rima Broadcasting Inc. Its owners and associates take no responsibility for the opinions or statements made by the talk show hosts, callers, or their guests. Statements or show topics are not necessarily the beliefs of this radio station.
Good afternoon, beloved, and welcome to this edition of Let's Chat America. I am your radio host, the number one radio host every Thursday and Friday, Dr. L. Ronald Durham. My co-host, the lovely Maureen, she is on assignment today, and so she is not with us in the studio, but we are going to carry on anyway. Tyler is our studio engineer, and my lovely guest is in the studio. I'm going to get to her in just a minute. She is no stranger to this program. We're excited that you're tuned in because, as I said, this is the number one talk show every Thursday and Friday, right here in Volusia County, in Daytona Beach, as a matter of fact, which is the world's most famous beach. We hope you're enjoying the day. We've got great weather out there. The sun is shining. It is a beautiful day to get out, stretch, exercise, and get that fresh air into those lungs. I'm telling you, it really makes a difference. Today, if you'd like to call in, now listen, we've got a new system that we're using today for the first time for our callers, but everything should be working the same. It's the same call-in number. Tyler's behind the board. She's going to bring you in if you've got a question, you've got a comment. The number's 386-868-3411. Same number, 386-868-3411. That is the call-in number. And we need you to call so we can test it out to make sure that it's working okay, because today's the first day we're using it here on Let's Chat America. We're also watching the big screen. If anything happens on the big screen, we'll let you know. We're watching CBS News Live 24/7, and we'll keep you up to date if anything breaks that is of urgency. Before I get to my guest today, which is Nhi Ma Do, my favorite guest here on Let's Chat America, I do want to share, sadly, this information from not long ago. Pope Francis, sadly, did pass away. This segment is from the Irish Star. And Marjorie Taylor Greene, one of the strangest people, I think, on the planet, from Georgia, is receiving backlash on social media after she posted. Now, she posted just hours after Pope Francis passed away on X, and it appears from the post that she was actually celebrating. That's right, celebrating the pontiff's death at the age of 88. And it comes after Trump is branded, quote, disgusting, end quote, for honoring Pope Francis in a, quote, baffling way. In a post on X last Monday morning, roughly 9 hours after the pontiff's passing, she said, quote, here's what she said. Today, there were major shifts in global leadership, said the self-identified Christian nationalist. Evil is defeated by the hand of God, end quote. Her bizarre post followed Trump's own deranged 184-word Easter message taking aim at, of course, his enemies. The far-right congresswoman did not clarify what she was referring to with this post and has responded to requests for comment from, not responded rather, to requests from comment from various media outlets. Meanwhile, Trump has been branded by some as, quote, the dumbest president ever, after a 6-word comment he made on Easter. Users on X were quick to call out Marjorie Greene for her comments, who interpreted them as an attack on the late pontiff, who passed away if you remember, at 7:35 a.m. local time on Easter Sunday, or Easter Monday rather, from a cerebral stroke, and that was according to the Vatican. One user, Jeremiah Watson, wrote on X, quote, "This is absolutely atrocious. Catholics elected Trump. Please don't do this and push them away from our winning coalition," end quote. Another user wrote, quote, "You're pure evil." From former Illinois Representative Adam Kinzinger wrote, quote, "Shame on you, lady. This is disgusting," end quote. Another user wrote on X, quote, "You're a disgrace to America and the world," end quote. Pope Francis's death began a 9-day mourning period, followed by what's going to be a complex process to select his successor. Marjorie Greene is 50 years old. Supposedly she was baptized Catholic and married in a Catholic wedding, but converted to evangelical Protestantism in 2011 and was rebaptized. In 2022, Greene said she left the Catholic Church over fears that she could not trust its leadership to, quote, "protect her children from pedophiles," end quote, following repeated sexual abuse scandals. And she said that in a statement at the time. She said also in the same statement that Catholics were, quote, "pious," end quote, and that many priests are, quote, "kind and brilliant," end quote, but said the church's leader was, quote, "controlled by Satan and full of criminals and abusers," end quote. This is a sad story, folks, but this is what has devolved and what has happened to some of those on the far right who have become quite delusional and, in my opinion, have completely lost their minds. Greene has not made any other public comments about the pontiff's death since these. And of course, you know that I will keep an eye to make sure that we are reporting any other weirdness that may come out of Washington, D.C. As I mentioned, we are live broadcasting from the studios of Joy 106.3 FM. We're watching the big screen to see if any breaking news is happening while we're on the air. If you'd like to call, we are using a brand new system today, and we would like you to call in so we can test it, make sure it's working. The number is 386-868-3411. That's 386-868-3411. I am so delighted today because my favorite guest is in the studio, always happy, always smiling, always upbeat, joyful, Nhi Ma Do. She is a physician's associate right here in Volusia County, working for Conviva. She'll give you some pertinent information about who Conviva is for those of you who may be interested or may need their services. They do a great work in our community. Our topics have been revolving around improving your health. That's what Nhi's focus is. That's what she does every day here in this community, trying to improve the health of those that she works with and that she works for. And today we are going to be focusing on de-stress. And Nhi is going to give us some information that can just help you calm yourself down, just be chill throughout the day without having all of that stress that we sometimes carry around with us. This is also, May is Mental Health Awareness Month. So we're combining a couple of things in our program today. Nhi, welcome to Let's Chat America. I want you to go ahead and get started. I'm excited about what you're going to bring to us today.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Dr. Durham, for having me back. And hi, everyone, again. And this is actually a blended focus today for us. As we know, we wanted to bring April and May highlights together. April's health focus was the Stress Awareness Month. And May's, there's many health focuses and great causes that we can highlight. including Move in May. But May, we will focus to blend with the de-stress pillar in April as the Mental Health Awareness Month. So before we go on, I'd like to read a couple passages here regarding both of these months. So last month, when we were scheduled to focus on the LM Lifestyle Medicine pillar number 4, de-stress, as April also happened to be Stress Awareness Month, amongst many other important causes, and spotlighting the impact of chronic stress on the heart health and overall well-being. So this month, we blend this de-stress pillar with Mental Health Awareness Month in May, which is a time to reduce stigma, raise awareness of behavioral health issues, and highlight how important mental illness and addiction can impact patients, providers, families, and society at large. And oftentimes, the root cause is stress. Yes, all in caps on my paper here. So therefore, we will discuss very much practical steps throughout this hour, and not only about stress management, but really about stress transformation too, and how this can actually protect our most vital organs. So as we recall, from January, we focused on nutrition pillar, exercise in February, our sleep health was in March, and now into April and May to focus on de-stressing. And then in June, we'll wrap up the last 2 pillars, which is positive social connections and avoidance of risky habits, including substances. So that is a mouthful, but we'll get started.
All right, everybody. If you know someone who, maybe a family member, a loved one who you know is a little stressed out, this might be a good time for you to pick up the phone, call them, and tell them to tune in to Let's Chat America here on Joy 106.3 FM. We're going to give you some practical ways that you can handle your stress, things that you can do kind of on a daily basis to minimize and get a handle on, because, you know, life is sometimes it throws curveballs in our way. Things happen with families, children, the job, and it can be a lot sometimes to take in. But today, Nhi Ma Do is going to tell us how we can deal with all of that, keep our sanity, and keep on moving forward. So, Nhi, with these 2 busy months full of health awareness in mind, how can we kind of simplify for our listeners some of the overall de-stress kind of recommendations that you may have, and discuss practical tips that they can use to kind of every day just be on an even keel?
That's an excellent start to the question of practical tips. And I like to remind everyone first, and I wrote a little bit of the work that Kelly McGonigal, if you haven't heard of her yet, this is a researcher that is known to be doing The Upside of Stress, which is one of her books. And this is her, I quote, "Some stress can actually be beneficial, even good, as it can motivate us, foster resilience, and lead to growth. So we must see it only as a signal." So what does that really mean? So technically, stress can be enhancing if we acknowledge it and what's the meaning behind it. So then channel our emotional response towards it. So when we are under stress, we really need to know if it is something we're just going to manage, or can we transform that state of being stressed. So turn the frown upside down, really. So simple implementation strategies include: 1, use our breath, because first of all, it's free. So a simple strategy is a nostril breathing. And by research, the prolong on exhalation is a quick way to reduce our feelings of stress, which means you convert yourself from that fight, flight, freeze, the sympathetic nervous system, into the parasympathetic nervous system response, which is rest and digest, or stay and play mode, right? And then number 2, get outside, because fresh air, and for those of us who are very much lucky to have fresh air, it is free, right? So
Absolutely.
breathing and getting the fresh air in nature, and ideally if you can surround yourself by greeneries, as much as you can. There is a forest bathing, if you want to look that up too, in the Japanese culture. That can boost our mood. And the bonus is if you can get outside for fresh air and be active while you're out there, whether it's a walk to get some steps in for your day. Movement with nature is very healing and de-stressing. And then a last, number 3 quick thing is to create yourself a journal, whether it is a mental journal or written down journal where you can write down a purposeful way. So think of it as your gratitude journal at the end of the day, or your purpose journal, to remind yourself of all the positive things that is happening in your lives. And an example would be being grateful for another day with shelter or with companionship is a great start.
All right. So, those are great tips. And for those of you who are listening out there, you might want to take some notes. And he is giving us some real good information on how to kind of de-stress and get some of those feelings of anxiety and just feeling like you're carrying around a lot of weight on your shoulders. So this is a great program for you to be listening to today and sharing it with those of us who can share on Facebook, for instance. You can share this, just hit that little share button while you're watching us on Facebook, and all your friends on Facebook can be watching along with you simultaneously today. And if you'd like to call in, you can do that as well. Maybe you've got some things Nhi doesn't have in her notes that you want to ask her about how you can stay calm, stay, mellow. Pick up the phone, dial those 10 numbers, 386-868-3411. That's 386-868-3411. And we hope you'll call. And Nhi, I just want to go back to point number 1. Because you talked about a simple strategy of nostril breathing. And I had a nurse tell me once that you should inhale through the nostril and then exhale through the mouth. And she said that actually lowers your blood pressure when you do that. Is there any truth to that, or would you recommend that to the listeners?
So if you can do deep breathing in any way that is easy for you to remember at all, that's the way for you.
Okay.
And the fact that I just mentioned about nostril breathing is more of a yogi's breath as well. And I am a yogi, and I also have done some research in terms of when you seal your lips and you force your breathing into the nostril, there is also another method where you plug one nostril, inhale through it, then plug the other nostril, exhale out through it, and then inhale through that nostril, and then repeat the process. When your lips are sealed and you're really focusing on that nostril breathing, it produces your vagal nerve to really expand and collapse the lungs, and forcing it to do even a better job as far as inhaling and expanding, because your lungs have a lot of capacity, and most of us breathe shallowly. And I too, when I'm anxious or when I'm nervous or like I'm anticipating something that I'm afraid of to face, for example. So yes, I am not perfect by any means in terms of breathing as a yogi myself. So when you think about how you're going to be breathing, whatever way, if you're breathing in through the nose, out through the mouth, as long as you're breathing in through your nose, that is the most important key there, because you want to encourage yourself to get as much into the nose rather than a mouth breather as much as possible, because when you inhale, you never really know what you are actually inhaling. When you do it through the nostril, you have more ways to protect yourself in terms of germs and things like that. There's more ways that your body is going to combat with the immune response through the nostril than through the mouth. So that's another important key.
Love it. So Nhi, let's talk about you got some great desserts.
Yes, my famous desserts.
So let's talk about those 8 methods of desserts when you're feeling stressed.
So my favorite number is 8, and then when you write down the word stressed on a piece of paper, STRESSED, right? Flip that and reverse it. So it is spelled backward as desserts. So when you think about and say the word desserts, you just smile. So I'll give you a quick backstory before I go on to the 8 methods of desserts. So back in 2018, when I was first approached to suggest that I should start doing some community lectures with my first workplace, and I said, I don't really know if I'm going to be good at public speaking because this is making me kind of nervous, right? So what would be the topic that I would really want to talk about that can help me calm myself down at the same time as giving it as a talk in the community for the first time? So kind of a way for me to develop this acronym. The acronym I did not own. Desserts has been aware and known that is spelled backward for a while, but I came up with the acronym pattern before I came through like the functional medicine training, before I came through with the lifestyle medicine training. So it was really funny now that I think back. It's actually all of those principles intertwined into this acronym. So you can write down, if you are able to, on a piece of paper, desserts on there, and then we're going to go through it quickly first of the 8, and then we're going to be practicing quite a few of these if we have some time together today. So let's do it. Are we ready?
All right.
So D, right? D is to deeply breathe. So whatever method you are able to, there's tons of ways. The square breathing, the 4-7-8 breathing technique. So next is E, to exercise consistently. And then next is the S, to sleep soundly, which means good quality and quantity. The next S is to surround yourself with supporters, as in positive social relationships. And E is to eat the foods that love you and your body back. That one's the fun one. And R is to relax mindfully in nature, because nature is healing. T is to try something new. And if I had suggested something today, for example, you can try. That would be fun and de-stressing. And then finally, S is to share your story and your laughter. So as we go back to the very beginning, and by the way, this acronym has now been published in an article in a paper that I read and co-presented first at the national conference with ACLM in 2024, and then we developed this paper from the contents from our presentation on empowering fall prevention. So if you really search out there, just Google Nhi Ma Do and then empowering fall prevention, it will show up in that paper. So deeply breathe. We were going to practice that because it does take practice. Whatever your default or your go-to pattern of breathing, for me, it's just a very simple way. So I'm going to teach you that way, which can calm down heart rate, blood pressure, and you can do the square breathing, which is like you count to 4 as you inhale, hold for 4, exhale for 4, and then hold on exhalation for 4. So the method that I usually use is to know that you actually are doing a diaphragmatic breath. So you're practicing with your diaphragm and strengthening it, and it's called also AKA belly breathing. So if I could invite everyone to bring your right hand over your heart and your left hand over your belly. And for now, since I've been talking with speed, maybe my heart rate is going up too, and I'm not breathing deep enough, so shallowly maybe. So on the next inhale, I invite you to seal your lips and inhale only into your nose. Take a big deep breath. Inhale, deliver that breath all the way down, expanding out the diaphragm. And then hold at the bottom, and then exhale out through your nose. Out it goes. So as you inhale, I want you to mentally count 1, 2, hold. And then when you exhale, you count 1, 2, 3, 4. So on every inhalation, hold it at the end with a count of 1 to 2 or 1, 2, and 3. On exhalation, I want you to double the count. So every time, and if you're used to it and an expert, you don't have to use your hands anymore. As you deeply breathe, make sure you make that mental count. And then when you exhale, I want you to remember to extend on the exhalation and basically really empty out the lungs. Because think about it as like a balloon. especially when we're sick and we're just gasping for air, sometimes with those with asthma or COPD, we are trying to empty out the lungs completely to make it more elastic in order for it to re-uptake and inhale and expand again. So you're getting all that oxygen exchange when you do so. And then E, right? Exercise consistently. This sounds familiar to February, which is a very fun segment. And I invite everyone to re-listen to that one on the first Thursday of February if you haven't yet, because the American College of Sports Medicine, the CDC, AHA had always been promoting this pattern of exercise for the aerobics or endurance, but we wanted to flip the script and add strength or resistant training first for the two non-consecutive days at least in a week. And I try to tell people maybe 3, add more resistance and weight into your week, 3 days out of the week, and then also at least 150 minutes of moderate intense exercise, and incorporate and blend in the balance of flexibility too for fall prevention, right? And then when we come to sleep, the S, to sleep soundly, the acronym or the phrase was ready, get set, go, start, stop, stop, stop. So listen to March. Yes, because we went into that in detail.
We did.
Surround yourself with supporters. So positive social connections goes a long way. And actually, there is studies, a very, very long study and still ongoing. There's some folks that are still alive during the study, the happiness study, where they take individuals through their lifetime to measure their happiness through different stages of their lives. And one of the biggest thing is what's called social fitness. When we can be physically fit, mentally fit, and there is this social fitness. Do you have healthy relationships in your life? And those are the people that actually can keep you alive longer.
Yes,
because you are able to have that camaraderie and be able to talk to them when you have a bad day, or whether in person or on the phone. So that is a very important one for the S.
Yes.
And then eat the foods that love you and your body back. It's pretty much exactly what it said, right? When we went through the nutrition pillar in January, we talked about if it's in your house, it's in your mouth. So keep it out if you don't want it around. So really, really important to eat your fibers, and the phytonutrients can go a long way when it comes to fruits and vegetables and keeping your immune system boosted, so you get enough antioxidants that keep you healthy. And R, to relax mindfully in nature, is because nature is healing. We had Earth Day, because this segment was supposed to be for April. Earth Day was on the 22nd of April every year that we get to celebrate. Try something new. So if one of the callers wanted to try a test and call us in, what they've heard first so far today that is new that they're willing to try. I mentioned yoga. How about Tai Chi? There's also journaling that I mentioned, forest bathing, and any new hobbies that you can try to really turn that frown upside down and get yourself excited and motivated again. I think that's a really important piece. And then finally, I'm going to turn this back over to you, Dr. Durham, is share your story and your laughter. And I was actually going to have I talked with Mo also ahead of time, but she's not here, but she can call in and share if she'd like and listening in. I would like to ask if you can share a short story of how, and I will too myself, how each of us de-stress. So would you like to share your story of anything you can think of recently that you had utilized to go to as your de-stress technique?
Let me think. A story to de-stress.
I turned that on you.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, it's funny because not long ago, a couple of weeks ago, we took our oldest daughter with us on vacation. So on the way back and on the way down to the place where we were staying, we were just talking about her growing up as a kid, things that she used to do as a child that were just funny and outrageous, and that just made the trip shorter because it was a long ride, but also it made us laugh in the car. We remembered all those things that she did that were so cute. So for me, that was a recent memory where de-stress was definitely the order of the day, because we just laughed and joked the whole way down and back.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, you
Yeah.
hit both of them, sharing your story and your laughter. I
Yeah.
love it. Yes, because laughter is actually very contagious. And I, during the class most recently too, just a couple of weeks ago, the second Tuesday of every month, I've been doing classes at the Wellness Center, and we live stream the class to other wellness centers throughout the county. And we did some laughter yoga at the end with this part of the presentation, and we just did a quick exercise where everybody go around the room and say ha ha ha, ho ho ho, he he he, and then it got really contagious when everybody just were like, how am I supposed to laugh like that? I said, just do it, and then you probably will start laughing. So that was a really neat way that we got together with the group remotely and in person at that class. And personally, if I would share something personal for myself and how I have been able to, within this past month or so, try to tame my stress level also. I have a condition called eczema and psoriasis, or atopic dermatitis, that was very much like spreading on more body surface, and I had to end up getting some biopsies done. So not too long ago, like 3.5 weeks ago, I actually got very nervous because I had to wait on biopsy results, and de-stressing through the process has been really interesting, because I also picked up a new connection and a friend who does EFT, which is called Emotional Freedom Technique. It is a tapping technique where we are tapping different regions and talking to ourselves basically throughout the process. And I don't know if those on camera can see the widespreadness of my rashes from the eczema and psoriasis. It does really make it red and dry, and sometimes you have to face with people asking, like, are you okay? Did you burn yourself? Like, what happened? So you constantly feel like you have to explain when you show your skin, because it's getting hotter and I can't wear long sleeves forever. So that is my quick way this last, I've been trying to do it, at least if it's not every day, then every other day, to do EFT. So that has been my technique, and it does make me laugh sometimes, because I'm just talking to myself and talking to my rashes until I tap it away. So that is my little quick story.
All right,
personally.
everybody. So you need to share your story. And while you're sharing your story, make sure it's something that can make other people laugh. Because we all do quirky little funny things throughout the day that can make a big, big difference. I think we have someone on Facebook, Nhi, who has a question for us, and I'll give this to you to answer. And their question is, are there any tips that help you sleep?
Oh,
That's a big one. That's a big... And you know, I find that a lot of people, if you start talking to them about sleep habits, a lot of people have problems when it comes to sleeping and staying asleep all night long. So the question is, are there any tips that help you sleep?
So there are actually several tips, and it took us the
Thank
whole
you for
hour.
that question.
Yes,
by the way.
excellent question, and that's why it took us the whole hour. I was here in March to go over the phrase that we said, and I can review it together right here. Also, just so everyone have a fresh, refresher. So ready means ready for bed before 11 p.m. especially, and gradually try to start sleeping even sooner and earlier than that. So get physical activity in the daytime, because you really want your body to sync up with a circadian rhythm, and making sure that you're getting the light during the day, and then you have darkness in the evening time, especially after sunset. So you really also want to make sure that you are not... I wanted to make sure I mentioned, because I think in March I did forget to mention about any conflicts in nutraceuticals or pharmaceuticals that are able to make you more alert, and that could keep you awake also. So those who have any steroid base, even inhalers, and nasal spray too. So nasal spray or inhalers for the lungs. Anything that you have in that you actually use, whether it's over the counter or supplemental or prescribed, just talk to your provider, especially if those are the things that are stimulating. I actually have a quick story to a patient had shared that she was taking Sudafed, which is very much like causing you to basically stay awake. If you can't sleep to begin with, then you definitely cannot sleep with that.
Sudafed is for allergies, or is that
it's
for...
It's like a decongestion.
Okay, the decongestion.
Yes. So, so that is something that you want to make sure that you look at and start seeing on your medicine cabinet. So we have ready, get, set, go, start, stop, stop, stop. I won't go over the entire acronym, but that is there is one other tip, is to make sure that your bedroom is dark, quiet, and cool also. So if you are someone who needed to be like much lower in temperature, because the cooler you keep the house, if you're able to, the better that you are able to stay asleep as well. Okay. So I wasn't sure the gender of the person who asked the question. Also, if there is any perimenopause or menopause involved, if that was a man, then ignore me on that end as well, because there is actually a really neat handout that I gave during my lecture too, in terms of perimenopause and menopause when it comes to insomnia, because it is actually a really big deal where I've seen it in my own mother going through it. And so there's definitely an important way for us to really recognize that when we go through our stages and as we age, our melatonin depletes, and we don't really make more melatonin much earlier on in life, actually. So by the time that we turn 60, it basically ceases, and whatever you have is what you got. So you're keeping that routine and that rhythm, that circadian rhythm, the habits is going to take over, rather than biologically your body is not going to make any more of those melatonin. Some people can default back to having lower dose if they have a hard time falling asleep. Melatonin may not help you as much to stay asleep. Yeah, so whoever that asked the question, that was a great question, and I hope that I gave you some highlights. But do listen to the March segment when we went over the whole acronym itself.
Okay. So during the daytime, you do want to get some sunlight. You don't want to sit in the house with the blinds all closed during the day. Open the blinds, let the sun in. And then at night, you want to go to sleep early enough. And what about eating before going to bed, Nhi? How does that affect
a couple
sleep?
Hours, yes, because you want the body to be able to process and digest food.
Okay.
And also getting enough protein in your meal, especially at nighttime, so that your sugar don't spike too high. And especially for those who are pre-diabetics or diabetics, what you are eating does matter, especially when you are trying to snack also in the middle the middle of the day will be fine, but usually when you go into the night, later in the night, that can really affect how your sugars are getting processed at nighttime.
All right, there you have it. Hopefully that's a lot of information that Nhi just gave you on sleeping, and I'm sure there's a few things in there that you can try that will be very beneficial to you tonight when you go to bed. If you're just tuning in, you're listening to Let's Chat America here on Joy 106.3 FM. This is Daytona's #1 radio program every Thursday and Friday. Not just Daytona, but the whole county of Volusia. We are #1. If you'd like to call, you can do that. The number to call is 386-868-3411. That's 386-868-3411. We're talking about de-stress. Getting rid of some of that stress that all of us from time to time find ourselves experiencing because of situations and circumstances that sometimes happen unexpectedly or quickly, that sometimes seem like they're out of control. But Nhi is giving us a lot of good ways that you can handle that stress, deal with it, and turn it around. Turn that frown into a smile. Is that it?
Turn the frown upside down.
Turn the frown upside down. I'm happy that you're tuned in. It's 39 minutes past the hour. I'm only going to have Nhi here for a little while longer. So if you wanted to call, please do that as well. Those on Facebook, you can ask a question on Facebook. Tyler is our studio engineer. She'll get that question to us, and Nhi will give you your answer. So, Nhi, how do these de-stress techniques that you've been giving us play a role in primary care from the standpoint of a practitioner trained in functional medicine and in lifestyle medicine?
So we have been alluding to how this pillar itself is a part of the 6 pillars of the American College of Lifestyle Medicine. And with my role in the primary care setting, and especially in geriatrics too, we always honor the patient's wishes and be their partner in the process of their healing. So whether it is that they want less is best, in terms of whether it's medications or trying to give them different alternatives. Also, sleep hygiene has to be optimal before you think about whether it's coming from a antidepressant, anti-anxiety standpoint to really help the individual. But the root cause is both of these institutions, which is what I'm really honored to be trained and going through the process with IFM and ACOM. The foundational matrix basically is what IFM goes over, the modifiable lifestyle factors. And all of these factors blend in directly with the ACOM foundations. When we talk about how is this person's nutrition, can we look at their exercise routine, their sleep health, their de-stress techniques, and how are they transforming from their frown upside down rather than just managing and going with it and keeping it on their shoulders. Do they have positive, healthy social connections? And are they able to avoid risky habits, including risky substances like no tobacco or any alcohol is their default for the de-stress? So which are the dangers of, well, I can't quit smoking because I'm too stressed and I have to use my cigarette to de-stress, for example. So how can we really meet them halfway in a sense that we can see and know what is the underlying why? Like, is there a why and what is the purpose? Like, I ask myself about my why a lot. Why do I wake up for the next day? And why do I feel motivated to show up and come in to work and to give and to serve? So that is a really neat way for us to approach on the primary care standpoint, because we're basically the quarterbacks for our patients, and caregivers and family members oftentimes play a huge role with our geriatrics population, because they are basically right there at home with the patient. They see the environment of how the patients are trying to heal and come back from acute illnesses, or trying to manage versus reverse their so-called chronic conditions. And oftentimes, if we give them the opportunity to tell us how can we reach them and how can we meet them where they're at to attack or target the root causes of their conditions. So some people who had a history of falling, and I just have recent examples with patients and caregivers coming recently who said that, oh, I this is the first time I've fallen in my life, and now I'm afraid to move. So I won't even try to walk again because I'm afraid to fall. But that is actually a misconception, because if you are afraid to fall, you should be working towards more balance, more flexibility, and try to prevent that future fall from happening. So when we transform the state of being compressed to being a state of being released and go with the flow, then like Dr. Durham said, we want to just be mellow and we're not tense. That also can cause us to fall as well. So being tense or being very stressed and you're overthinking or keeping yourself off, walking on one foot and hopping along rather than 2 feet. And the other thing is I encourage everyone to seek abundance of resources that are already out there. So whether it is through my blog, which is nhimado.org, where I highlight a lot of functional medicine in life and ACOM materials on there, And NhiMaDo.org, there are tabs on there, and I actually decided to print out a whole list today in case we have time to go over the list or any of those resources on there, whether it's recommendations on websites that you have hyperlinks to click on, a podcast, books that you can look at and read, or apps and YouTube videos, because there's a lot of videos, whether it's TED Talk videos that you can watch or a whole free course, like for example with Coursera, that has a lot of free courses for folks to sign up on. Psychologist Dr. Lori Santos has a whole course called The Science of Well-Being, and it's been launched for a while now, and it's all over the world that people are tuning in to sign up for courses like that, so that you have more people that know that you're not alone. And that is something that I want everyone to remember too. You're not alone on this journey. And that's very important.
It is. It is. And I know you have some rules and top tips that you can share with our listeners on ways they can transform that stress. So we've got about 10 more minutes, roughly.
10 more minutes.
Close to 10.
Yes. I'll give you the top tips, and then I'll highlight about Conviva at the end too. So first, number one tip is to re-listen to this recording today.
Yes, that's a good tip.
On Let's Chat America.
It'll be on YouTube later.
Yes, and try to recall some of these tips, whether it's the desserts method or some other ones that I mentioned earlier on. So practicing is key for the deep breathing technique. So whether you do the 4-7-8, you do the square method, you do just the belly breathing method, nostril breathing is really something you want to practice, because if we don't practice, we continue to breathe shallowly. And I'm a culprit of that too, if I don't practice. So remember the breath, because breathing is the oldest form of meditation. Just remember your breath and default back to that. Visualize yourself stress-free from moment to moment. Sometimes you might have to be like me and try to tap it out,
that
or
can be a hard one.
Try to like talk to yourself. It's basically positive self-talk that we have to do sometimes to tell us, hey, it's going to be okay. I'm not stressed. This is all can be handled, and go on with that mentality. Be gentle with yourself and proud of your personal improvement. So every wins count. And then finally, find enjoyable, healthy habits to last a lifetime. So when you adopt any of the desserts technique, or if you go right to the try something new, make sure that try something new is something that can give you more health and improve your health span, and ultimately improve your lifespan as a result, rather than a short, quick fix that will later on be more damaging to your health than where you are. So just think about that, and we will highlight a quick the next lecture I have at the Wellness Center, which is at the Ormond Beach location. Right now, we will live stream to all the other locations. So we have Palm Coast Wellness Center that's free to the community, 2 Port Orange's locations, and one is called Port Orange, the other one is called East Port Orange on the riverside. We have a South Daytona brand new office too that has a new wellness center, and we also have the Orange City location. So all of those wellness centers that anyone can drop in to get a calendar, and you can attend activities there for free. And my class next is on May 13, which is the Tuesday, and it's 3 to 4 p.m. And the pillars we will be covering is actually positive social connections and the avoidance of risky habits, which is avoiding toxins, avoiding the substances that are risky. So those are some of the highlights. And I can read about Conviva and update about the change of name again.
Okay.
Yes. Okay, so Conviva used to be known as Conviva Care Center, and because we're owned by Centerwell is actually Centerwell Senior Primary Care, so Conviva has become Conviva Senior Primary Care also. So both of those you can look up online and see where your nearest location is to you. In our county, Volusia, we are actually going on to 10 locations very soon. So we have 9 locations established and going on 10 later this summer or into the fall that will be opening up, and all kinds of different insurances are accepted. And there is also straight Medicare that we also accept. And lots of Medicare Advantage plans that you can definitely call the 1-866-934-4280 number to find out. So 1-866-934-4280. And that way you can find your nearest location and have a assigned provider to be your primary care provider.
All right, everybody, there you have it. Nhi has given us a wealth of information about how we can de-stress. And one of the things that I took away from it today is find those enjoyable, healthy habits. Because if you don't enjoy doing it, you're not going to do it. So make sure you enjoy it, you like it, and it's something that you actually look forward to, because that'll make all the difference in whether or not you're going to continue. And of course, Conviva, they have a lot of free services that they do provide as well. So if you want to go to their website, Nhi, give us the Conviva website one more time, as well as your blog website.
Oh, okay, yes. And we have another question, yes. And I will address this question shortly.
Okay.
The Conviva website is Conviva Care Centers with an S. They still kept that for now, but it will reroute you to a logo that says Conviva Senior Primary Care. .com. Sorry, ConvivaCareCenters.com, and or you can just Google Conviva or Center Well nearest to you. And my personal blog is actually Nhi, Nhi, Ma is M-A, Do is D-O.org. So that is NhiMaDo.org. It's free. Lots of resources that I've been updating and adding onto there. So the question that Tyler just gave me is, do you have a personal website?
Perfect timing.
Yes,
Perfect timing.
that is my personal website, and I do post all of the interviews that we've had so far. And in fact, I have added a tab thanks to my web designer who I had started transferring over to use, and he's amazing to help me out, and added a tab called the Media tab. So you will not miss a single interview that we've had all the way since September of 2023.
Excellent.
So there is a tab on there for all the interviews I've done with Dr. Durham and the topic. And as a matter of fact, on the 1st of every month, I release a post, and it's been focused very much right on align with our theme of each month. So this month with mental health awareness, and previously with stress awareness, I posted it and had it released at midnight tonight on May 1st. And you see the whole acronym on there, and also we'll be adding the link to this interview soon after. So there's lots of resources on there that is a click away, basically, for you.
All right, there you have it, everybody. NhiMaDo.org is where you can get a lot more information about stuff that Nhi does all the time to help you improve your health. And of course, we're going to get this interview up on YouTube. If you don't know, we do have a YouTube channel, and it's called Let's Chat America on YouTube. Very simple. And you'll see a lot of the stuff that Nhi has done here, as well as some other things that we post on that YouTube channel as well. Well, it's time for us to go, everybody. We want to thank you for once again tuning in. Tomorrow, same time, same place, 12 noon. The number one talk show will be right here, broadcasting from Joy 106.3 FM. This is Let's Chat America. Love you. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks for listening, and we hope you have enjoyed